On this episode of Failure to Launch, we're talking about a really hard one for me. That's right, we're talking about Monster Squad. Monster Squad is one of my favorite 80s monster flicks. I love it so much. But let's see if we could find out exactly why it never launched into a franchise of its own. The story of Monster Squad begins 100 years ago, or 100 years before 1988, when the movie was released. We meet Dracula and Van Helsing, and things go bad with an amulet and a vortex, and then we bounce to what it says is present day, so we'll assume 88. We meet young Sean and Patrick, and then Fat Kid, who is bullied by Wayne because that's all Jason Hervey did in the 1980s. And he is saved by Rudy, cool kid on a bike with cigarettes. When I saw this when I was younger, all I wanted to be was Rudy. Minus the cigarettes. They're all in a monster club, which Phoebe the Phoebe isn't allowed to join. So Dracula is here, and things start to escalate with a mummy and a werewolf, a gill man, and Frankenstein's monster himself. They're all the original Universal monsters, just slightly different enough so the copyright doesn't apply. Sean's dad knows Jack Death, while his mom also parented the Goonies, while Sean figures out a clue that he'd know if he was die-hard of a horror fan, as he said, and had watched Dracula AD 1972. And look, I love this scene and all, but what was the mummy doing in Eugene's closet anyway? He's just in there, hiding, I guess, and then just, promptly leaves. So we have a mummy who likes to linger in little boys' closet in the middle of the night. It's like a bandaged Bryan Singer. And they team up with Scary German Guy. You're gonna see this guy in other movies, and trust me, you're just gonna see him and say, Scary German Guy. And they have until tomorrow night to find an ancient amulet and conduct a ceremony to banish all evil. They team up with Frank, kick Wolfman in the nards, which he definitely has, and meet Dracula's brides. They recruit Patrick's sister to help them. Rudy takes out the mummy. Dracula, blows up a kid's treehouse. That's kind of immature, Drac. But then he blows up a cop, so it goes from mildly inconveniencing a group of kids to cop killer in 20 seconds. Everything comes to a head in the town square with Rudy as MVP killing one, then two brides, and the third one, well, I guess she just wanders off, or Rudy kills her off screen, I guess. They do the ritual, but it doesn't work because Steve doesn't count, and then Rudy kills the Wolfman.
Bang.
Fat Kid kills the Gill Guy.
My name is Horace.
Phoebe completes the ritual, and Van Helsing shows up to pull Drac into limbo. How he got out of limbo to do this and why he hasn't aged, I guess we'll never know, but we don't care because we're too busy crying about the monster going into limbo too. I'm not crying, you're crying. I'd like to point out really quick here that out of all of the main monsters, Rudy kills the mummy, the Wolfman, and Dracula's brides.
I'm in the goddamn club, aren't I?
Because Rudy's a total badass. So now here's some fun insight. This film was directed by Fred Decker, who blessed us with this film and The Amazing Night of the Creeps, which I'm sure will get its own episode at some point, and then cursed us with RoboCop 3. It was also written by Shane Black, who went on to far greater success and wrote and directed the highest grossing Iron Man movie and the lowest grossing Predator. I don't know if that second part is true, but it should be. So there really wasn't even talks of a sequel to this one, mainly due to it only bringing in less than $4 million against a $12 million budget. It was a big cult hit on VHS and cable, although it always alluded to the success it most likely deserved. Although it was pretty easy to see why it wasn't successful, though, as it's hard to figure out the core audience for this movie. It plays like a kid-friendly adventure along the lines of Goonies, yet figures some genuinely horrific villains and some rather excessive violence. Ultimately, it kinda doesn't commit to one audience or the other. The scenes with Eugene are played for laughs, and silliness with his continual close calls with monsters who don't really seem that interested in hurting him, and feel like they're from a totally different movie than the ones with the werewolf-eating people. Sadly, any sort of a follow-up would have not to include the character of Horace, as Brent Shalom, the actor who played him, passed away back in 1997. The remaining cast members have held reunions from time to time, and talks of a remake have been going around for years. Director Rob Cohen said back in 2008 that Paramount had plans to do a remake, and in 2010 he was confirmed to be making the film with Platinum Dunes, but a few years later, the project was declared dead. In 2018, Andre Gower, Sean himself, directed a documentary of the making of the film called Wolfman's Got Nards.
We're the Monster Squad.
And so there you have it. It's sadly only one movie. It's a great movie. If you haven't seen Monster Squad, put this on your list of things to see like tomorrow, because it's a great fun movie. It really is like what if Goonies ended up in a horror film, and the monsters are fantastic. The kids are great. The story's great. Everything about this movie is fantastic, and you should check it out. There's some quality practical effects in there from back in the 80s. There's no reason for you to not have seen this movie already, people. So let's get on this, especially if you're calling yourself a horror fan. Come on now, what are you doing? Just see the movie. Well, that's about it. Hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you think of Monster Squad down below. Let me know how much you love it. See if you love it as much as I do, because I could watch it over and over again. And tell me if you would have liked to have seen more, and what would you have liked to have seen from it. And also subscribe, share, do all that good stuff. Check out the Patreon page over here, and I'll see you shortly for another great video. Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.